Hey everyone, so I have this cast iron wood stove here and there is a crack in the top plate, and today I'm going to do my best to fix that. It looks to me like there was water coming in the flue pipe and perhaps got into the cast iron, and as it heated up, essentially the water came to a boil, created pressure, and just broke the cast iron. So the first thing I'm going to do is get the flue collar off and clean it up and go from there. I've managed to loosen the bolts, but there are nuts on the bottom that are just too frozen and I cannot break free, so I'm just going to have to drill the bolt out. So now I'll just clean up the collar and the top plate. So after getting the flue collar off and really getting into the stove, it seems like getting this top plate off would be a total nightmare. So what I'm actually going to do is try to just weld it in place. So next I'm going to prep the crack for welding. I'm going to get it nice and clean and I'm going to grind it down so that there's a nice channel that I can lay a good bead into. So what I've done now is built a small fire of some really dry ash, so it should be a nice clean burn. I'm just going to balance a flue on top and get the fire going. In order to weld the cast iron, I need to preheat it, and I'm going to shoot for about 500 degrees. But this is one of the reasons I decided to weld the top in place, so I can just start the fire and let the stove come up to temperature. Once it's ready, I'll just pull the flue off, give this one last final brush, and hit it with a welder while it's hot. The other reason I went with welding it in place is that it should prevent any distortion or warping when I get it hot, especially the pinpoint heat of the welding. The downside of doing it in place is that I'm not going to be able to weld it through from the bottom also. But I ground it down pretty deep, so I'm almost near the bottom anyway, so it might take a couple passes, but I'll just build the weld up until it's nice and flat at the top, and that should make the top pretty strong again. Everything's about ready, so I'm just going to jump on it. I've got to move pretty quick because I don't want to give it time to cool off. I was really losing the light there, so I've just let it cool off overnight, pulled it back into the metal workshop. Now I'm just going to clean up the weld and see how well it did. So I've got it all cleaned up and the profile is good, but there's some pitting and like a low spot right here. So the welding isn't the best job, but it's kind of hard because you have to stitch weld it and jump around with each stitch, because if you just do a straight pass through it, you're going to put way too much heat into the cast iron. So you do like an inch here and then jump over here and then back here, and you've got to clean them up between each pass. It's a pretty annoying welding job, but I think it's going to be good enough to work with. So next I'm just going to rough it up with a file to give it some texture. And now I'll use some stove polish to add some protection and also to make it look better. Now I'll just reinstall the flue collar with some new bolts. Alright, now I'll go get this thing installed. So I've had 3 or 4 ragers in it now, and it seems to be working great, so I think I'm going to call this good. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.